2 words. Kodaka made a manga. Oh wait, that's 4. There are gonna be some people who clicked on this video and be confused by what I just said because technically the guy already wrote other works like these, but hear me out for a minute. And for those who are unaware as to whom I'm talking about, allow me to explain. Kazutaka Kodaka is famously known for writing the Danganropa franchise, this one anime/game called Tribe 9, and Rain-Code, which is finally getting a Steam release this year. Yes! And this manga that I'm going to be talking about today, if it was allowed the room to breathe, could have been up there with Kodaka's well-known works, and that's Gambler's Parade. So, the information on how this manga was made is similar to what I researched for my Perfect Crime video, where there's little to no information other than a few concrete things. It was released in Weekly Shonen Magazine on October 12, 2018. About a year later after V3 was released, the art was created by Atsushi Nakayama, more on their art later in the video, and had a short run, being cancelled after releasing 35 chapters. Now, why was it cancelled? Well, this is speculation on my part, so take it with a grain of salt, but I think it's simply the lack of readers that killed this manga in its runtime. Which is sad, but hey, it is what it is, unfortunately. So what's the story? Well, the first chapter starts with our main character, Kairin Shinonome, running late to her new school, and quickly establishes that she's a very unlucky girl, which is a reverse from Kodaka's last 2 previous characters revolving around luck. She meets up with her homeroom teacher to apologize for her absence, but before she left the room, the teacher advised her of falling into potential gambling traps as, in this world, gambling is considered the norm here. But she reassures the teacher that she doesn't plan on gambling anyway. Almost immediately after, Kairin bumps into another student, spilling their drink all over themselves. Kairin apologizes for the mess she made, but the student isn't hung up about it and even offers to show Kairin around school since she figures she isn't from around here, and you're gonna betray her in a moment, aren't you?
I can see the future!
So the story has a pretty basic start where you can see the plot tropes from a mile away. Main character is running late, they recently moved to a new place, they get warned about a dangerous thing by an important figure, they say, I'm not going to involve myself with said dangerous thing, only to get proven wrong when they unintentionally get involved with said dangerous thing by being betrayed by someone who originally was friendlier earlier. And the main character is about to be in a worse situation when the important figure from earlier saves them. However, it's when the important figure saves them, or in this case the teacher Nagisa Kumo. Wait a minute. If I had a nickel every time Kodaka made a character that had Nog in their name, I'll have 4 nickels. Which isn't a lot, but it's enough for me to notice there might be a pattern. Back to what I was saying earlier, it's when Nagisa comes to save Kairin that things become interesting. He comes to take Kairin's place, gambling on her behalf, and threatens to blow everyone up with a C4 bomb if they don't accept. But he also is willing to exchange money if he loses. However, if he wins, the opponent and his crew are not allowed to touch gambling ever again, and to Kairin, he wants her to hear a request of his. The reason he wants the opponents to stop gambling is because he hates gambling. Like, really hates gambling with a fiery passion to the point of disgust. He calls gambling reductive and nothing but evil, and anyone who chooses to dabble in it are idiots beyond saving. He claims he's not someone who wants to save the world, nor is he someone who gives people hopes and dreams, but rather, he's someone who fights for what he believes is right. In this case, eliminating as many gamblers as possible from this world. But in order to achieve this, he incorporates an age-old saying, in order to defeat your enemy, you must become your enemy, as he's willing to take up gambling to make sure his opponents never take up gambling ever again. Although there is one thing that happens whenever he starts to gamble, as his teeth starts to sharpen, his hair becomes wilder and white, and there's the exaggerated eccentricity that I know and love from Kodaka. So yeah, this is what happens whenever Nagisa gambles, as even his own body is rejecting itself from the act of gambling. So the match starts, and it is easily a one-sided beating, as Nagisa easily guesses the answer, even when the opponent tries to trick him. He explains to his opponent he can easily understand what their thought process was, and to prove it, he funnily rips into the guy as he reveals his name, what he likes to eat, his social status, leading to one of my favorite panels of the chapter that I'll give you time to pause and read this. After the match, Nagisa brought up the request he wanted Kaorin to hear if he won, and that's to join a club that he's advising. Kaorin is pretty interested as she's never been in a club before, so she signed the application and was told by Nagisa to meet up at the location he wrote down after school. Plus, she asked if she was allowed to refuse, and he said yes. So if the club was not as great as she hoped to be, she could quit and continue on with her life. Meanwhile, after Kaorin left, it's revealed that the gambling scenario was staged by Nagisa, who paid the defeated opponents money despite losing. They asked Nagisa what his plan is for Kaorin, and the answer is exactly what he proposed to Kaorin, for her to join his club as he believes she is a necessary piece to get rid of all the gamblers in the world. But before Nagisa leaves, the opponent asks, how did he know? Even though the game was planned, the opponent got greedy, thinking he can get more money instead of the promised amount. So how did Nagisa know? Well, the answer is Nagisa noticed he started to get nervous. And in the long-winded panel I showed and told you can pause earlier, one of the lines that appears at the end read, the opponent can get so nervous they start to sweat. So when the opponent gambled on fooling Nagisa, he broke his first sweat, and that's what did him in. And with that, Nagisa leaves, but not before leaving an explosive gift behind. It's after school now, and Kaorin enters the club room where she sees, well, if there's any doubt that this is a Kodaka scenario, there isn't now, as 3 new characters introduce themselves. Hotada Hira, Torinosuke Sagara, and Shin Magayama. Nagisa comes in and gives Kaorin an explanation as to what this club is. In short terms, they appear to be a culture club on the surface, but they're secretly a gambling team with Nagisa as the leader. And the name of this team is called Pink Spider. And that's chapter 1. Already it hooked me in with an intriguing premise about a gambling team who hates gambling and uses gambling to take down other gambling teams. And it continued with learning where the story takes place, as there was a gambling bill that passed in Japan, resulting in a man-made island being created off the coast of Tokyo Bay under the joint investment of multiple companies called Gambling Island. But unfortunately, like I said in the beginning, it only has 35 chapters and was cancelled before the premise could reach its full potential. And for us English-speaking people, we only have 23 chapters translated, so this looks like I have another perfect crime situation on my hands on how to deal with this, as I'm not even kidding, the last English translated chapter ends on a cliffhanger. And a good chunk of chapters past chapter 2 revolves around this one game with this guy, but this is the one exception where I don't want to spoil it for you guys, as I want those who are interested in this to read for themselves if they want. So here's what I'm gonna do. I'll talk about the art style, characters, and some of the gambling aspects of the manga. This will probably be my shortest review to date, but I'm fine with this as it will give me time to work on my next video, which I'm definitely going to need if I want to get a release on a certain date. Minor spoilers ahead, and with that out of the way, let's talk about the art style of this manga. Nakayama's art style is something that I remember when I first read this, as it has one of the most unique looking art styles I have seen. It has a perfect balance of exaggerated body proportions and faces without looking too cartoony, the loose pencil marks added to the characters making it look more detailed, and it can add on to scenes for when someone goes crazy or gets intense. The art gives me that pop art vibe, as it utilizes thick black outlines around the characters and bold patterned backgrounds in certain panels, making them pop out more. Honestly, with Kodaka's writing and Nagayama's visuals, it created a crazy, fun experience. And what story experience isn't enhanced without its characters? Which, well, the short run doesn't help much, as Kotoha, Torinosuke, and Shin all have pretty shallow characteristics. Kotoha has something close to a hint with a panel showing her backstory, but that's about it as far as I know. Rest in peace to what if could have been for these characters. The only characters that have something close to death are Kaorin, an antagonist named Slash, and of course Nagisa. Starting with Kaorin, she's alright. She's written similar to other Danganropa protagonists where they're the straight man to the antics that happen around them. I would say she's similar to Fuko, however the difference between them is how their unluck is being utilized and how it affects them personally. For Karin, her unlock happens during convenient times and doesn't have much beyond that. Yes, she does mention that having unlock makes it hard for her to socialize and want something good to happen to her, but that's about it. She still goes to school, hell, she still has her parents. She doesn't have to isolate herself, nor does her unluck affect the people around, so she doesn't have a fear of accidentally hurting them. The few things that are even remotely interesting to her character is that her unluck isn't hereditary and is part of an ongoing mystery involving her relationship with Nagisa, which is going to be questionable for some people if they want to read this, so this is your warning. Granted, all of it is heavily speculated and implied, so moving on to Nagisa, he quickly established he's not afraid to use undermining tactics to get what he wants, if he feels it's a means to an end, as he believes there's no such thing as luck. That end, of course, being gambling, and we get some hints as to why he hates gambling when he tells Karin he lost his family because of gambling, and wants to find the person responsible for this. And the locket Karin picked up early in the story has a picture of his sister who looks suspiciously like Karin, but he said it's a coincidence that Karin looks like her, which is code for he's spouting BS to her in order for her to stop asking questions, because the second Karin left, he looks at the locket picture and calls it Karin, saying that this time he'll protect her. So, unsurprisingly, Karin plays a major part in Nagisa's backstory, and if this story was developed any further, I wouldn't be surprised if the twist involves cloning or a memory wipe. But that's all I have for the characters. Time to move on to the main selling point of the manga, the gambling. When I first discovered this manga, I remember seeing a comment someone made, don't ask me where, I forgot, that this manga is Kakari on crack. Yeah, that's about accurate. I haven't read much of Kakari beyond like 2 chapters, but from what I read, Gambler's Parade takes the gambling from playing games aspect from Kakari and escalated by adding a crazy element to the game. For example, in chapter 2, Karin challenged Nagisa to a gamble of hide and seek after she learns she was tricked into joining Pink Spider. If she wins, she leaves the team, and if Nagisa loses, the bomb that he willingly attaches to his neck will explode, as he's willing to bet his life for this game. The rules are simple. Karin goes to hide somewhere on the school grounds, calls Shin that she's ready, and the time limit will double the time that Karin took to hide. So if Karin took 15 seconds to hide, Nagisa has 30 seconds to find her before the bomb goes off. However, they don't want the game to be too short, so Karin is given the maximum of 3 minutes to go hide, making Nagisa's total seeking time of 6 minutes. The game officially starts, and once again, Nagisa's psychological tactics come out to play, as before the game started, he slyly mentions how no one would help him find her, including Kotoha. Additionally, Karin just moved into the school, so she doesn't know the school's layout very well, but thanks to Nagisa's subtle suggestion, she figures there is one place that she knows she can hide, a place that he can't find her even if he finds it, the girls' bathroom. Because if Nagisa tries to enter the bathroom, the students around the area who are either heading home or to an after-school club will spot him and question him, as the teachers aren't allowed to enter the students' bathroom. And that's what Nagisa is hoping for, as the manga utilizes loopholes to a high degree, as it requires you to pay attention to how the rules are established, as anyone can take advantage of the established rules. So even though Nagisa can't enter the girls' bathroom, he can use other means to dispel the students, by going to the school's PA system and pretending to be an expelled student who wants to blow up the school. Some will call this cheating, but technically the rule said no one can help him look for her. It didn't say anything about not creating a scenario where it would make it easier for him to find her. And there's a ton of more examples later on in the story, but it involves the game with Slash, and again, I want those who want to read this to experience that section of the story, because the match with Slash has an environment Slash uses to his advantage despite the rules, and the way Nagisa found a loophole in those rules and figure out Slash's stick is so enticing and satisfying. Ultimately, Gambler's Parade, despite some flaws depending on who you ask, is a short, exciting ride to anyone who is a fan of Kodaka's work. And who knows, maybe Kodaka will look back on this work and continue either as a reboot or in a video game form. Only time will tell. Now, if you excuse me, I'm gonna go back to my writing cave and finishing my next project. Thanks for watching, everyone. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe for more of my content, and click on the bell to be notified for when my next video comes. Hope you guys have a decent day, and I'll see you next time. Bye!
Deep breath,